This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning. Any doubts from previous topics? So today's session it is about data dictionary. We were giving some break to the programming because we have few new members added in this training session, and few already existing people they haven't gone through the data dictionary topics. So today which we are going to start DDIC, and the same topic will be there for tomorrow as well. And whoever not attended for the DDIC, they can join for tomorrow session. And whoever already gone through this topic, they can skip this session today. And they may also not able not they should also ignore the tomorrow session. From Monday again, we will go back to our previous topics. As we discussed in our ABAP training, we have first a foundation. So this foundation basically consists of two major topics, DDAC and ABAP programming basics. And these two, which are foundation, so how good you are into this, the next topics which we are going to talk in basics classes, rise of objects, those will be very easy. To understand this, first we should be very confident and very good in this particular area. And now we have a mixed people. Few are already go through this programming, few are not at all attended this DDIC topics. So what we have planned, so we will make sure everyone will complete this two before going to the rise of topics. So rise of W, these are the actual objects where our end users are using, and as a ABAPer where you are going and working in real-time projects. And these are like generic topics which makes you of strong pillars to develop these objects. So DDIC, it's all about tables, structures. Here no coding. We don't require any coding here. But whereas come to the above basics, to understand the programming, we need coding understanding. So this is coding related. So in DDIC, what we are majorly we need to discuss about tables. DDIC is nothing but data dictionary objects. So today we are going to see this DDIC, and whoever interested you can continue, or if anybody wanted to skip you can skip and then practice previously what we have discussed if any pending task you have. So let's discuss this DDIC topic. So as I said, DDIC is nothing but a data dictionary related. So what is data dictionary is, as you already know, our architecture is a three tier or two tier, whatever it is. You have a application presentation layer where users they'll enter data into the transactions, to perform any business operation, and the data what they entered in the screen, so that data in the form of input what they have entered, which will come to application layer where it will process your input with the help of ABAP programming, and this program, it will process your data inside of the table. Table will it will store your input data. So this is application come database layer. Now we were talking about this table as part of DDAC and the database architecture. So database, which is not only consist of table, which is also consist of so many objects. In that, table is the main important part where whatever data you enter, that will come and sit in this particular object. And DDIC, which is going to tell about how these tables are organized, how can we see the table data. If you wanted to create any table, how we can create a table. If end user wanted to maintain data, how end user they can maintain data using DDIC object. So those things we will discuss. So table is the primary object in the database, and which consists of two things. Table is combination of structure and data. So structure is nothing but, if you look at a table, so this is a table where it is having few fields. Let's assume this is a table which stores customer data. Customer data. Basically, what is data we are going to store? We will store customer ID, customer name, and customer address. Let's assume this is customer ID and this is customer name. Varun Motors and Lakshmi Automobiles. So now these are the customers and this is the ID. In the top, if you see ID and name, we can say it is a structure inside a table. ID and name are called field names. So combination of field names, we can say structure. And bottom, whatever you see, this is called data. This is our data. So table is a combination of two separate entities. One is structure and another one is data. Structure is nothing but group of fields, ID, name or address, city, anything if you have. This group is called structure. And in another way, structure we can also discuss, say that logically related fields are called structure. Here ID, name, city representing customer related data. So this logically related fields information we can say structure. And whatever information it is representing the customer, that is data. So table is a combination of structure and data. SAP, as part of their ERP product development, they have designed so many tables, and these tables you can search in transaction SC11. DDIC data dictionary transaction code is SC11. In SC11, we can go and search for any tables, and SAP they have created so many tables as part of their software product development. And to distinguish what is customer table, what is SAP created table, SAP they have come up with a naming conventions. If you see any table which starts between A to X, these are SAP created tables. And if your Amazon, you are working for Amazon, Amazon wanted to create a table which is not provided by SAP, then if you wanted to create any table for Amazon, you have to use either Y or Z for your customer's sake. So these naming conventions you need to remember. If anything you see in our SAP system starts with either A to X, between A to X, those are SAP created, And if you see anything between Y or Z, that is created for our customer. That's why we can differentiate which one is SAP given, which one is created for our customer. Now first we will observe how SAP they have created these tables and what is the structure it is there inside, and how they have maintained data inside a table by taking the sales example. So in sales process, sales order plays a crucial part, and this sales order, which is a intermediate document between the company to customer, which represents for whom we are selling the product, what is the product we are selling, and what for price we are selling that product. And this information which stores in the backend tables VBAK, VBAP. These are the primary tables. And transaction code to store the sales order is VA01. End user who works for Amazon, he will use this VA01 to create the sales order, and whatever he entered data that will come and sit in this particular tables. VBAK is called header table and VBAP is called item table. So what is header, what is item? I'll show you when I log in into this SAP application, and I'll discuss on this sales application. Let me log in into SAP system. So you need to enter your credentials to connect with your SAP system. Now we are in SAP. So this is our command bar to place sales order. Amazon employees, they will use VA01. Now once they enter, they have to provide information. Okay. So this information, what is order type OR? Who knows? SAP SD functional consultants are the end user who is placing this sales order. As a technical consultants, we no need to learn these concepts. What is sold to party, ship to party, or payment terms? This is not our scope. For your understanding how business they'll create, I am just giving some dummy data. So now if you observe here, any transaction in our SAP, it has two main areas. One is header part, the one you can see in the top, which contains sold to party nothing but customer, and ship to party from where we are shipping our product, and delivery date, and the sales area is a combination of sales organization, distribution channel, division. So the above data whatever you see here, this is all SAP transaction level header data. So this is called header data. In transaction, every transaction we have two section: header data, item data. And if I click here, so you can see this is order header data. And header information, it's like a master data. Master data means data will be created once but never changed, or it will be going for a changes very rare scenarios. Which means if you see sold to party, so sold to party means customer has a ID. If you wanted to buy a product from Amazon, what you will do first, you will register, right? You need an account, you have to register with them. Your details has to be first with them to proceed and place any orders. So that is called customer in SAP point of view, and that data is a master data. So once you register, you will get some unique ID, and that ID is never going to change. So that is what master data. And whatever you see here, it's a master data. Like that order type. So many order types are there in SAP system. they'll create it. And once these order types are created, they are not going to change later point. So similarly, this sales area information, sales organization, distribution center, these are all created before you are placing the sales order. And this data, which is always fixed, never going to change. If you wanted to place an order for a Sanjay, you have to always use that unique ID only. Sanjay, he is not going to change his ID repeatedly. That is not possible. So that's where this is called master data. Header data we can also call master data. And when you come here in the below, you have item. So whatever you place here, how many quantity you need for what price, this is called item information. You can place multiple items: laptop, motherboard, mouse. These are all item information. And this item information, which is also called transaction data. So we have two main parts in a transaction: header, item. Header we can say master data, item we can say transaction data, because this information Sanjay is going to repeatedly change. One day he will place for laptop, mouse, keyboard. Another day he will go and place for any TV, fridge, refrigerators, AC. So different orders he will place, right? So header data it's always constant, but item data which is keep on changing depends on the order what he was going to place. So that's where transaction data which is always going to change. And in the back end also, SAP, how they have handled these two sections is they created two different tables, which means your header information will go and sit in one table and item information will go and sit in another table. So every transaction in our SAP system, it has two main areas, header and item. And header and item information will be go and sit in two different independent tables. Now, I wanted to see the data, whatever we entered in the order, where it is going and how it is sitting. Then SC11 is the transaction to check the table information. And once you executed, you have some options here where you need to select the database table. And SAP said they have used VBAK to store sales header information, and one more table slash O, which is used to open another session without killing the existing session, slash O SC11 and VBAP. This is item data. So my header information will go and sit in header table, and item information will go and sit in item table. How these two tables are connected? These two tables are connected with the sales order number. Whenever you created any order using VS01, one number will be generated for your order that is unique, and that number it will connect your header data and item data. So you have all the sales header information in this VBAK table. Let's say this is the sales order number which is generated. When you click on save after providing the data, what will happen? One unique number will be generated, and this is the number. And this number through your header information and item information both are connected. Don't have, okay, let me copy. So this sales order, we don't have any item, so I am selecting multiple sales orders. Okay, 1 3. Only one order we have. Okay, so this is the sales header table. and this is the sales item table, and both header and item are connected using the sales order number. In the item table you can see material number is nothing but part, and item information and quantity price, this will be stored in this particular table, VBAP. You somewhere you have a partner price everything. And header table, the above one, where it contains sales organization, order type, what order type we are placing, and where it is, when it is created. So all this header section level, whatever we have, that data will come and sit in this particular header level. Now all this VA01, VBAK, VBAP, who created? Our SAP. They have created before handing over this SAP software product to our customer. Now, how these tables and transactions are connected? Whenever I enter data here, so how the data which is segregating and stored inside this header and item table, who is doing that? That is ABAPer with the program. So he will write the code, and this code, it will collect the data, and then it will segregate that data to respective tables. That is what the entire architecture it is designed. Now why we need to use our DDAC to create a table? SAP already delivered, right? Everything they have delivered. Then what is the need of a business to maintain a custom table? Custom table means why Amazon wanted to create a table, because everything which is given is you need to simply enter data that will come and sit in these tables, so you can use it. Why Amazon need a table especially which is not given by SAP? Because SAP, they have designed this software not only by looking at Amazon, they have designed by looking at multiple business entities, business organizations. So it's a generic software which is not designed especially for Amazon. But when a customer, specific customer like Amazon, when they are using as per their business norms, they need sometimes a new tables also required. For example, in Amazon, whenever a sales order is created, okay, for whom we are creating sales order? For customer. And based on the customer history, or based on the customer type, which means in the website, when you go, you have two types of customers: a normal customer, where he will register and then place orders, and another customer is prime account customer. He is a prime customer, where he has different delivery dates and different facilities other than the normal customer. For the prime customer, you have to pay some extra amount, right? Now you have two types of customers. So when the order which is placing by end user using VA01, he is going to enter the customer, and all the customers are not same. And if this customer is a prime customer, then delivery dates will be different for the products what he enter. For normal customer, the delivery dates are different for the products what he is going to place. Then how SAP can help me to distinguish like this, which means SAP, they have to understand this is a premium customer, this is a normal customer, and then provide me a delivery dates based on the customer. So that kind of facility SAP not provided. SAP point of view, if you want to place a order, you need to enter the customer. That's all. And the delivery dates, which is all depends on the product and the availability of the product in the warehouse. But as your request, as your business specific depends on customer account, we have to take the deliveries. Then that kind of scenarios, SAP they haven't handled. Now if Amazon wanted to achieve that, as a SAP consultant, you need to modify, you need to enhance the existing application. Now To distinguish which is a prime customer, which is a normal customer, you need to create a table. So that table, we will use it later point of time when the order is going to place to decide the deliveries information. Now we need a requirement to create a table to store customer information, and it indicates who is the prime customer, who is the or normal customer. Now this table, who will create? ABAPer will go and create, because this is not provided by SAP, and Amazon wanted to create this table because they wanted to distinguish their customers. Based on that only we can help with the delivery dates. Now, if you wanted to create a table, then how we can create a table? So as a developer, if you wanted to create a table, first you should understand how SAP they created the tables. Then only we can proceed and create our tables. If you look at here, this table started with V. And as I told you, naming conventions are very important. If any name between A to X, those are SAP utilized objects, SAP objects. Those are created by SAP. And if you see any name of the program or any table, whatever object, which starts with either Y or Z, then that is for our customer Amazon, ABAP or functional, those created. Now in the attributes tab, here in the table, we have different tabs. Each tab will give you some information. Attributes tab, which is going to tell who created, which user created, on which date it is created, what is the logon language of the user, all this information which is carried by the attribute section. I just logged into this system, right? This is my user ID, ABAP HANA 29. And you can see here ABAP HANA 23. So there is a user, ABAP HANA 23, he created this. Or lastly, he modified this table. That information we can see in the attributes tab. And we have delivery and maintenance. So a table we are creating. So what purpose we are creating? We need to provide that information. If you look at here, SAP they created the sales table and they mentioned a delivery class as A. So what is this delivery class? Delivery class is nothing but when you wanted to transport your data, your table from one system to another system, our basis consultants require this delivery class. Based on the delivery class, the delivery of the table will carry from one system to another system, which means, as I told you, in real-time projects, you have three different servers in your GUI. One for development server where all the developments will go, and another one quality server where testing will go, and when one is production server where only live business is connected. Now your customer is requested you to create a table, you will create in development, then that table has to go to quality and production, right? So similarly, SAP also, as part of their development, they have created this table, and once they created, they have transported from quality to production. Now to transport from one server to another server, we need this delivery class. Depends on the delivery class only, our basis team they will move data from one server to another server. And once when they are moving from one server to another server, based on the delivery class, they will prioritize. So which table has to go first, which has to go next, so they will prioritize. And if you see, they have chosen as a SAP, when they created this table and delivery class, they have selected as a. Why means, this is an application specific table, which means in this table is created for VA01 application. VA01 is the application where end users they will enter sales information, and this table is going to fill. That's where this is created. VBAK is created for application specific. That's where they have mentioned we have a application. Through that application, this table is going to fill. So for that application, we have created. That is the meaning of A. And if you see application table which contains master and transaction data. In VA01, as I told you, header and item we have, right? Header is nothing but master data and item is transaction data. So that is the meaning of A. In most of the our requirements also, most of the times we will create application tables where end users, they can go and maintain master and transaction data into these tables. And also we will create customizing tables as well. So customizing tables means we don't have a application, but there is a need of utilization of that table for business. So in that case we will go and create a separate table. Only table is used for the data maintenance without any applications. That is customizing table. Mostly either A or C, these two categories ABAPer he will use to create it. And these categories also, it has to be discussed with your functional and depends on the functional request, and you need to choose the category. And as a technical consultant, you don't have a choice to pick. You need to discuss with your functional and depends on the usage how they are using, you need to choose the right category. And when any system upgrade is happened for your SAP software, or any upgrades are happen, that time when they wanted to move basis consultant, first priority they'll give to move this application tables. Why I'm not getting GUI options? I'm checking why these GUI options are not coming. So you need to remember only one thing, this delivery class, which is helpful for the delivery basis team. And when basis team are upgrading software or they were moving table from one system to another system, first preference always they are giving to application table, and second preference they'll give to custom tables, customizing table, and any other different tables. So this is purely for basis purpose. You need to maintain, this is a mandatory. When you create a table, it is a mandatory parameter you have to provide. And display maintenance, you are creating table for what reason? For data maintenance purpose. So if you wanted to maintain data, you have to choose a display maintenance allowed, so that everyone can enter data into this table. For example, you are only interested to maintain data by the users, not by uh, any person who connected to SAP system. Which means I'm a ABAPer, I have connected, I have access to SC11, I can open table and I'm going to create the entries, store the data inside this table. For me, it should not accept. But end user, if he come, if he wanted to maintain data, for end users, it should accept. For that reason, SAP come up with this second option, allowed with restrictions. So when it is selected allowed with restriction, direct table access is not allowed. It is restricted. So you need proper authorization, proper role is assigned, so that only you can go and maintain. That's where this is having a display maintenance allowed with restrictions. And you wanted to allow everybody to maintain data, then you can go and choose this display maintenance allowed. This display maintenance not allowed, for example, you wanted to create a table only for program utilization purpose, you are not interested to go and create any data or any other thing inside the table, then you can go and use this not allowed. Maintenance means maintenance which comes up creating the data, modifying the data, deleting the data. This is what maintenance. So what purpose you are doing this table, that purpose you need to select here, display maintenance. So this is also mandatory input. And since this is a standard table, they have used with restrictions, but when we are creating our custom table, we are giving access to everyone. So in that case we will use allowed. If you wanted to restrict, then you can go and use this restrict. But when you using restrict, you need a proper authorization roles, so it requires a basis team involvement. In training servers it is not possible, so we always choose maintenance allowed. But in real time projects, This also need to be discussed with your functional, depends on how this table is going to utilize, which team is going to utilize, and whoever who needs access, who does not need access. That is everything we need to discuss, and based on the discussion only you need to select these options. And there are another mandatory inputs apart from this delivery class and maintenance, that is technical settings. In the technical settings, you can see data class and size category. Data class is nothing but where your data which is going to store inside the database layer level, that will be decided by this data class. So you are storing this data, sales information, and database is a huge container. In the database where your table is going to sit, that is what the data class. And if you see, they have used APPL1 as a category for sales header information. Why SAP used this APPL1? Because if you go and check any other table, like a customer table, which is a master data table, ANE1, and inside this table, if you go and see technical settings, you have data class as APPL0, whereas sales have APPL1. And if you go and check any other table, like company code T000, clients table, so here technical setting, you can see this is APPL2. So the categories are different: APPL1, APPL0, APPL2. What is this classification? Why they have used this different classifications? APPL1, APPL0. What is this data class? Is nothing but where your table is going to sit in the database layer level. So that is uh, the classification. What is the use of this classification is, uh, if it is a transaction data, which means APPL1, which is has to be placed very nearer to you. How we can say, let's say there is a college library. In the college library, you have education related books and magazines and newspapers, different information is there. Usually if you observe librarian, he will keep books related to education very near to him, and the novels or the magazines or old newspapers he will kept very far. Why? Because the people which are asking for these newspapers magazines are very rare. So that's the reason he'll kept very far away from him, because of the easy access. Most of the people are asking related to education, that's why he kept that information very close. So if anybody asks for the any EC related or any other books, it is very near to him, he can pick and give it to them. And because of the easy access, so how fast you can access the data, that depends on how you organize the information in the database in the library. So similarly, SAP also, it's a huge database which contains lot of information. But for easy access purpose, they have created these racks in the database. So you just assume database as a library, and these are different racks in the library. APPL0 education related racks, APPL1 newspapers, APPL2 magazines, like that. We have different racks. And if you choose APPL1, it will be kept very near to the librarian. So here librarian is whom? Data dictionary, S11 transaction, what we are using for data dictionary, right? Data dictionary is the librarian. So for librarian easy access purpose, this data class will be helpful. So that's the reason when you are creating any table, you have to specify this data class. Based on the class, your table and data will go and sit into that particular rack. If you say APPL2 organization customizing or master data or any other classification, this will be kept near little bit far away from the transaction data in the database level, because transaction data is frequently accessed. That's the reason they kept very close to the data dictionary. So this data class also, it's mandatory, you have to provide, then only it will accept to create the table. Next is size category. So size category nothing but you are creating table to store data. How much data you wanted to store, that depends on the memory you assign. You can assign memory from 0 to 9, and we can start with 0, and later point of time depends on the entries which we are keeping inside the table. Automatically size category will be picked up by the system. So that is what the size category, which decides how much entries your table can accommodate. That is what the size category. And these are the mandatory inputs inside the table. Any table, not only sales. If you go to billing, you go to any other customer product, whatever tables, if you visit all the tables, these are the mandatory inputs first you have to fill. And then we have actual fields. So table is a combination of structure and data, right? So structure is nothing but a group of related, logically related fields. So this is sales related information. So sales order created date, created time, sales order created person, and sales order type, or sales organization, all these are all related to sales. And this is all are fields. And if you look at each field which is having a reference. So what is that reference? Reference is nothing but your field can accommodate how many characters and what type of data. So that is what the reference. If you see sales order number, this is of data type character. So character means you can enter either numbers or characters or combination of both. System point of view, that is like a character only, even if you enter number also. And how many characters you can enter, that depends on the length you provided. So if I execute this VBAK table, now you can see sales order number, which is a combination of characters and numbers. Number also system point of view, it will be treated as a character, as a letter, and the length is 10 characters. So maximum 10 characters only it will accept. If you enter below 10 characters, that remaining characters will be filled with zeros. And when you see ERDAT, when it is created, order when it is created, and which is having data type as DATs. So what is this data type? Which indicates what type of data we are entering into the table level. That is what the data type. So DAT is representing date related information, and the date is always 8 characters. So that's the reason you have a length of 8. And you have time, so time format is different, which is of 6 character. And then who created, so created person name, maximum 12 characters only. So you can see it's a character. When you see character is a combination of letters and numbers. If you enter number also, system it will treat it as a character only. So inside the table, you have fields, and these fields carrying the data, and that data for that particular field, what is the type of data and how much length it is allocated, that depends on the reference. So what is the reference? Here, a table field reference is data element. So this data element, which is carrying your table field, what is the type of data it has to store and how much length it has to store. So data element contains domain. So data element domain are the one which are used to give the reference to your field. So now your field which is referencing properties from this data element and a domain. So data element, domain, these two are repository objects or data dictionary objects. These are used to provide type of data, that is data type and length, to your field. If you open any table, all the tables which are having fields, and each field is referring data element, and data element which is referring domain, and data element domain, both are going to provide uh, references to your cell field, whatever you are enter into the table. So that field, what type of data it has to store and how much length it has to store, it depends on the data element and domain. And inside the table, you have multiple fields. Each field must have a data element and domain. You can check this information in any tables, any table. If you open item table, master table, product table. All the tables you have fields and references. And this is about this delivery and field section. And you have also input help and currency quantity fields. This I'll tell you in our next session. So now what is your task is you have to open our SAP system, and as I told you, sales process which is having inquiry, quotation, billing, different transactions, and T codes, tables, right? Important tables, T codes. I told you to go through some Google thread and get the tables and information related to the process, right? And your task is to open each and every table and check inside the table. Okay, first look at what this table is going to store, and then in the fields section, go and check what are all the major fields are there. And inside the table, if you see, there are two types of fields: key field and non-key field. So key field is nothing but any field which has key checkbox, that is called key field, and any field which does not have this checkbox selected, that is non-key field. And key field, non-key field, what is the difference? Key fields always store unique records, which does not store any duplicate value. And non-key fields, which is allowed to store the duplicate information. Because when any customer placed an order, order ID will be unique, but a customer can place multiple orders on a single date, right? So on the same day he can place multiple orders, which means date is must be duplicate. Whereas order, whenever he placed an order, a unique number has to be generated. For multiple orders, if you give one ID, then it will be a confusion, right? So that's the reason. To understand to the database what type of data you have to store, we have this key concept. If you maintain this key, then system will not accept duplicate information for the fields which you have maintained as a key. And maximum 16 key fields are allowed inside a table. So your task, open table and go through the key fields. What are the key fields? Are there key field mean primary information, which is mandatory information inside the table. And then understand what is the table and what is the fields which carries. And if you possible, note down those field technical names, because it will help you in the interview process. And then check the delivery and maintenance. What is the delivery class they have maintained, data class and technical settings, size category, data class, how they have maintained in the standard. First go through the standard tables and look all the tables, these points. And if you have time, okay, what you need to do is, in the sales process, just tell me how this sales process tables are created and how these tables are connected. In our next session, you also do some investigation on this, which means in the sales process, whenever order is placed, which is nothing but sales order, right? So sales order will be placed, then your data will go and sit in VBAK, VBAP. And then after sales order, next task is delivery. So delivery, data LIKP, LIPS. After delivery, billing. And billing is uh, VBRK, VBRP. So now these tables, how they are connected. And customer. So customer, which is there, custom, without customer we don't have this entire process. Customer is K-Name. Now customer table, what is the main important field, and sales table, what are the main important fields. And how, if I wanted to know one customer sales order and that order is delivered, if it is delivered, for that delivery whether you have a billing, a bill generated or not. I need this information from this table. So from KNA1, get any one customer number. And for that customer, we must have a sales order exist in sales table. And for that sales order, we must have a delivery. And for that delivery, we must have a billing document generated. So there ends the process. Customer, he ordered, this is order related information. For that order is delivered, this is delivery information. After delivery, he received a bill, so this is the bill information. So try, anybody can get the details from the tables. You have tables and you have data inside that, right? So execute and try to get the one customer related information from these tables. If you achieve, okay, otherwise I'll tell you how to pick this information in our next session. I'll be stopping with this today. Any doubts? Okay, if no questions, we can wind up. As I said, tomorrow we have a class only for the people who have not attended DDAC topics. If anybody already go through this topic, they can skip that session. Thank you. Bye.